in saying that, we're going to take you straight into game one, which is a Rust mirror, but we're going to forgive it because it's the Viper in DauT. Welcome to game one of this round of 16 match in Winter Series 2. I am Pesti, the founder of EGC, together with the fantastic Lidakor, and we are casting the Viper versus DauT. The west of the map, in the color blue, playing as the Roos, we have Viper, and spawning in the southeast of the map, in the color red, we have DauT. These two players, two absolute legends of AoE 2, both moved over to AoE 4 recently, although still playing some of both games. Fair to say, the Viper has made the strongest start in AoE 4, winning the first major, and generally looking very strong, but we can never count DauT out. I can also tell you right now that the Mongols were the civilization banned for both players, so we will not see any Mongols in this series. Lidakor, a matchup we've seen today, but with two very different players. How are you feeling about this one?
I think that if I had to make a prediction, I would go with Viper. He just seems to be a little more experienced in AoE 4 right now. This being said, DauT has started to grind Age of Empires 4 quite heavily in the last 1 or 2 weeks, so he's just now getting into things over here, so he's slowly catching up compared to Viper, and DauT, he's got 20 years of Age of Empires experience. This guy has been playing in tournaments since like 2001. Just think about that for a brief moment. This is basically his entire life. I basically was still learning how to speak when DauT was already playing in Age of Empires tournaments. On the other hand, he's going to have a tough time against the Viper over here in this matchup, especially because Viper had an exceptional start here with the Rus. I just saw 5 Wolves coming into the town center in just 2 minutes. Viper is up to 250 bounty. DauT is struggling with 90. I feel like with those Wolves, that's going to get a little closer, but Viper still got an exceptional start over here. So we'll have to see what DauT can do against his teammate over here in Gamer Legion. But a Mirror Civilization matchup, I think, is something that helps Viper.
Definitely a strong start from the Viper. I'm going to be the one that's going to come out and call it. I think I'm a huge fan of the Viper. I think he's, just an absolute legend. The things he does for the franchise and for the game are absolutely enormous. I think DauT is going to pull off the upset. I just have a feeling it's his day. Viper looked a little bit off on his micro in the first game, and I think DauT's going to take this one down. So there you go. You heard it here first. In the meantime, a Wolf going to go down here to the Viper that's going to help his bounty get up.
Viper is
As you
sitting
said,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
as you said, the Viper did have a better start with the bounty, but might be able to catch that up a little bit. But yeah, sitting at that 345 bounty, that is a very, very strong start.
That is an exceptionally good start. He's a little short of that dream 380, 390 mark, because that's where you can cut down your castle age by 1 extra ticket on that golden gate. So if Viper can get to like 370 here, which is like basically 1 wolf, then he might actually have to make 1 less transaction on the golden gate. That would be an enormous advantage in our mirror matchup, because that would basically mean that he's getting to castle age a lot faster than his opponent, and obviously from that point on it could be a snowball effect. So that early bounty in a Rus mirror is extremely important, and Viper has caught that start really well.
Absolutely, Lidakor. So looking at these age up times, looks to be pretty close. DauT's about 20 seconds behind, but he's got 7 villagers on, so he's also going to get that up. Yeah, I'd say 20 seconds behind. That extra 20 seconds is going to count for anything in the age up time?
I don't think it's going to be as significant as the difference in the bounties, because that is a much bigger advantage here for Viper. Viper's hunting cabin has 21 gold per minute as compared to DauT's 30 though, so DauT is going to have a slightly nicer trickle here, which helps compensate a tiny bit. But this is where we'll have to do the math here for Viper soon. He is at 46, which is a good sign for DauT, because that means there is a need for 4 transactions, right? Yeah, 4 transactions. So Viper couldn't get enough for 3 transactions. This is going to rise a tiny bit thanks to that hunting cabin, but ultimately it's gonna be 4 transactions needed for Viper, and same for DauT, I do believe.
Absolutely. So again, we're seeing very mirror. No divergence yet in what the players are looking to do. Taking a look at we can take a quick look at the income per minute there in the top left, but no significant differential at this part in the game. Viper, with those professional scouts starting to bring in the deer carcasses there. Are you expecting that either player might try to do something different from the other? They look to be doing similar things now with DauT sending off his scouts there as well. Anything a player might do here to try and eke out a slight difference in strategy as he goes in for those to try to pick up those carcasses from Viper's side of the map.
I feel like if either of these players wanted to deviate from the meta, they would have done it already. At this point, I think it's going to be a straightforward way into Castle Age for Horse Archers, and anything other than that in Castle Age is probably considerably weaker. So you can try to play out of the box off meta, but I feel like at the end of the day, you just gotta go with the strongest strategy available, and that is going to be your Horse Archers.
See professional scouts being completed there for DauT, and he actually manages to take away the herd right from behind the Viper's base, which is be irritating for the Viper, but the Viper did manage to get professional scouts in slightly earlier, so he's going to already be just about ready to go off and start collecting his second batch of carcasses. So again, that's not insignificant that he's able to do that, and probably offsets the fact that DauT managed to. Oh, that's quite painful losing a scout there. Was that it? But it wasn't carrying a carcass, the one that went down.
It wasn't carrying a carcass, and that's something I wanted to highlight. There's a couple of deer still here, hiding behind those trees, because you can see on the minimap that the icon is still there. DauT came in with 6 scouts. Viper took 1 deer from there, and DauT came in with 2 scouts not carrying a carcass. So he left some over there, whereas Viper picked up a pretty decent number of carcasses from DauT's hunt already, and he's coming in for a second hunt as well. So just as much as Viper was able to carve out a tiny bit of a feudal age lead and a tiny bit of lead when it comes to the bounty, Viper also has an advantage when it comes to collecting those carcasses right now, and he's already on the way to Castle Age with the Abbey of the Trinity.
And that's that snowball effect that's often talked about in this game. You get up to feudal 20 seconds earlier, you get your carcasses in 20 seconds earlier, you age up 20 seconds earlier, and then the military production starts, and that gap in 20 seconds rapidly grows and grows in terms of the impact it has on the game. So the Viper is going to be one of the cleanest players imaginable at taking advantage of these micro differences. But the DauT has now brought in more carcasses. He was actually quite fortunate that, as you said, he left 2 of the carcasses behind, but it was one of the non-carrying ones that was that went down. Then again, I suppose it could have picked up the carcass immediately after, so it wasn't too significant. Now we see the Viper getting up to Castle Age. Can we take a look at DauT and see how far behind he's going to be with getting up himself?
A lot. Like in a Rus mirror, this is massive because you see that the Viper is already popping out that Warrior Monk. We can compare this production right now. By the time DauT gets to Castle Age, that's going to be 1 Warrior Monk for Viper. Luckily for DauT, the relic spawns actually favor him a tiny bit, but I would be very surprised if Viper wasn't the one coming out on top when it comes to relic control. And of course, for DauT, the other problem will be the lack of horse archers. So for DauT, he wants to grab relics, but that's going to be very difficult when there is already horse archers roaming around. DauT is going to have 4 ranges though, whereas Viper is just now building the 3rd one. So he might be able to cut into that deficit of horse archer numbers. But I feel like Viper is in a very, very good position right now. That early bounty advantage and then the early hunt just came in clutch for him.
Absolutely. Lidakor. So again, against some players, you might see, factor whether or not you can get back into the game. Against the Viper, it's very, very tough to be behind in a mirror against the player with the cleanest execution in the game. You see him carrying that relic back already with the Warrior Monk. Maybe look around the map and find some other relics, but that is just gonna be huge if the Viper can get a few of those relics back, producing gold.
Absolutely. And we've talked about how punishing mirrors can be. In particular, this Rus mirror is just super punishing because from this point on, Viper plays with resource income advantage. Resource income advantage translates into better upgrades, and better upgrades will translate into fights being won, more map control being earned, and ultimately a victory. So this is going to be extremely difficult for DauT to come back from, simply because the 2 players are doing the exact same thing, but Viper is doing it better right now.
In the meantime, it looks like DauT's going to be able to go and pick up that relic. He really needs... Relics are one of those things that it is just... Falling behind in relics is just almost impossible to come back from. Once they find their way back and are protected, they are... It's just almost impossible to recover from that situation. And DauT knows where that relic is, and he's desperately trying to cling onto that spot, but Viper is just going to overrun and snatch it from underneath him. DauT doesn't have any way to protect it coming, and now taking another relic, and it just feels really, really painful for DauT that his relics are going to go. The Viper made no mistake. He's getting them back, and big trouble here.
It is big trouble. Now, if DauT is lucky, he might intercept the Viper's Warrior Monk, but keep in mind, these are stealth forests, so DauT will not see that Warrior Monk out there, so Viper might get away with the relic. Viper is already on 2, that is going to be number 3 and 4 coming in for him. 4 versus 1 relic number. Once again, an advantage for Viper, and these small details are starting to pile up and might ultimately end to the defeat of DauT at this point.
He does end up finding those Warrior Monks, but way too late to do anything. Significantly outmassed in terms of the number of Horse Archers. And we're looking at a situation here where DauT is down on massive Horse Archers, he's down on Resources Bank, he's down on Relics. It's basically he's got nothing going for him at this stage. He's trying to take the Sacred Site, but he's not going to let that happen. Immediately contesting it, and looks like the horse has bolted in this game. I'm looking for a way to DauT to get back into it, but the problem is with those relics back, there's not many ways. I suppose that the way back into the game is if he somehow managed to find one big convincing military victory. That was a little military victory for DauT. It was pretty good. He managed to definitely outperform Viper for a second, but I don't think it was anywhere near it convincing enough to overcome how far behind he is.
And this is actually a good point that you bring up, because the exact same situation that Viper is in currently happened against Nushalbear. Had 4-1 relics advantage, better bounty, and what happened was that Nushalbear was able to force a fight with Boyar's Fortitude and just take one decisive fight. So the fact that that happened to Viper makes him able to react to this situation much better, because he was in the very same spot in one of the previous sets, and now he knows how not to lose that, because in the end he lost that matchup. So now he's at 4 relics. All he needs to do is just make sure that he doesn't let DauT take one decisive fight, and you could see indeed that when that Warrior Monk pokes one enemy with that little stick that he has, that's going to buff the combat capabilities of nearby units. So you want to incorporate that into your army, get that hit in, because then your units are much stronger, and you see Viper already has Boyar's Fortitude. This is an upgrade that he hasn't gotten early against Nushalbear, and that was the reason why Nushalbear was able to take a good fight against him. Now that he has that, DauT won't have that option, and I feel like this is looking extremely grim for DauT, because Viper isn't going to let the game be lost the way that he did against Nushalbear.
Definitely agree with you, Lidakor, that had strong memories. I thought we'd see a confrontation. They're not quite. This had strong memories. We are seeing a confrontation happen here. And we'll watch it take place. Looks pretty even. Maybe the DauT with a very slight advantage, but Boyers from Vibe, it's going to be very close.
That has to be good enough for
melting
Viper.
each other. Yeah, you're right. That Viper is going to just about get the better of this. Basically, the armies melted each other, but the Viper is just about going to end up with the mass at the end, and that is going to be probably GG. I think you called that really well, Lidakor, that it had strong memories of that first Lidakor Nushalbear game, and in the time where Viper overcommitted too early versus Nushalbear and lost that huge mass in the middle of the battlefield, this time he didn't, and with that, GG is called, and the Viper takes a 1-0 lead.
I love how you said Lidakor Nushalbear game as if I played against Nushalbear. I can tell you, that Viper has nothing to learn from me. So no, he learned from his own mistakes in that game. But as you said, he had the same advantage, but this time around, he made sure that his opponent has no chance to take one decisive engagement and just close the game out. He played from an advantageous position in every single moment in this game, and ultimately, he just did the exact same thing as DauT did, just better. You see 1,500 goal difference already between the two players. That basically comes from that relic difference. So DauT had a pretty rough start, and ultimately, Roosmeter is a matchup that can be won or lost in the first 2 or 3 minutes, and I feel like we have seen that because Viper had an exceptionally good start, and that just slowly snowballed into a victory in game number 1.